Toronto Maple Leafs is one of the Stanley Cup favorite year after year. They have a strong fan base in Toronto, the hockey mecca in Canada, and they have waited quite a few years since last Stanley Cup won. So there's also this kind of nostalgia in many fans that maybe this year is time for Toronto. But Tommy, how do you see, is this Toronto's year for Stanley Cup, or are these handful of players that they are paying more than 10 million per season enough for the team to make big strides this season?
This season is once again the season that they're gonna win it all. It's been like that for some decades. Last time they won, neither of us was even born, so it's been a while. Of course, now they've made the playoffs 4 seasons in a row. Every time first round exit, so a massive disappointed always. But they are such a talented team that at some point they have to get it right, and maybe this year they look a bit better, maybe a little bit more balanced than before. Of course, those guys in the offense earning their heavy purse have to do the heavy lifting as well. So a lot of is expected from those younger guys. Huge expectations always in Toronto. Very bad place for goaltenders, for example. Last season, of course, disappointment, 8 in the Eastern Conference, and then just run over by Columbus, which was a lot less talented team for sure, but they showed a lot of this playoff mentality that Toronto has been lacking for those 4 years. So probably something that Sheldon Keefe, the head coach after Mike Babcock, takes home with him is to find the way to make Toronto play a little bit similar as John Tortorella's Columbus did, and maybe learn something from that. But how have we been doing with Toronto predictions in the past seasons?
Toronto has been a strong team in the regular season during the last years, even though they haven't won too much in playoffs, but they won almost 60% of the games at home, over 50% on the road. And interestingly, there's a lot of positive expected value on those games. So on the road, almost 80% of Toronto games have had expected value based on our simulations, and home games 55%. And out of those home games, if you would bet based on simulations, the profit has been a bit over 300 over 3 seasons. So nothing significant, but reasonably well predicted based on our numbers. One interesting topic here is that when the overall home win percentage is 59, their first game after the road trip home win percentage is 68, and that has resulted almost 700 profit in your pocket out of those games. So these guys seem to be very happy at home when they come back from the road and have chance to show their fans how well they can play. But then the performance drops a bit after the first game. So when you are reviewing the games that Toronto are playing after the longer road trips, I think there are good chances to make money when the placing bets for Toronto in those games. How about this Canadian division? There's now these old Western division teams. How do you see Toronto is matched up with Edmonton, Winnipeg, Calgary, and Vancouver?
Yeah, I think Toronto is pretty well matched with those teams. Like we know already that they are pretty good against the Eastern Conference Canadian teams, but also in the West there is teams like Calgary and Winnipeg are pretty heavy-footed. Toronto is probably going to do pretty well against those teams with their heavy offense. Of course, Vancouver is a little bit of a question mark how they're going to play, and it's also a young and upcoming team. Edmonton, then they have these young guys, Leon Draisaitl and McDavid, who are just a duo who can win games on their own. But I think Toronto will have an upper hand in most of these games. Of course, they've been such unpredictable in certain ways that they probably, like we have predicted, that they're not going to win their Northern Division. So I'm not going to say they will, but they will be close. And I think it's a good matchup for Toronto. Makes it a bit easier for them not to face the top teams in the East constantly. So I'm expecting a lot of good things from this team. How about our actual numbers against these divisional rivals? How have they been doing?
So in this Scotia North Division, Toronto has been quite strong, both with let's say old rivals like Montreal. They won 64% of the games, as well as Ottawa, 55% of the games. But then when we go to Winnipeg, 66% of the games, Edmonton 83%. So 5 games out of 6 Toronto has won. Calgary has been a bit tougher, 50% games, and then Vancouver again 2/3, 66% of the games won by Toronto. So I think the expectation is that they would do pretty well against those teams, because at least historically that is the fact, and I think also the playing style would be pretty well matched with at least most of them. Or how do you see how their roster that is stacked from the top at least, then they have added guys like Joe Thornton to bring some experience from the other teams to this attack, maybe giving away a bit younger studs, but is this the recipe for the winning this time?
I think it might be a good medicine, maybe not the cure exactly, but something that helps them a little bit. A lot of experience from playoffs. Joe Thornton hasn't been able, of course, to win the Stanley Cup, so going to Toronto to do that is a bit questionable. But overall, I think this is something that Toronto hasn't had, because they had the first round exits. So these guys that they've brought in have a lot of experience from playoffs, if not winning the Stanley Cup. Otherwise, the roster is top notch, like in every aspect. It hasn't been so much about the quality of the players in the past. They haven't been able to perform at the level that they should. So again, it's the new head coach Sheldon Keefe needs to bring his team together and find a way to put everyone in the same page. No matter if you earn 11 million a year or if you earn 700,000 like Joe Thornton or Jason Spezza does. So that should be also a little bit of a example for these younger guys, that you can go well over 40s before you win the Stanley Cup or finish up your career without winning it. So make the most of it when you have the time. But Toronto has the team to win it for sure. Auston Matthews, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, William Nylander. It's such a talented offense that they should be able to outscore almost any team in the league. And then you add the players like Jack Hyman, Ilya Mikheyev, and Alexander Kerfoot, who are all able to score about 40 points in a full season. So they have the secondary scoring as well. So it only, like I said, comes down to making the offense click in a way that everyone has their role and understanding what is expected of them, which has been the issue in the past for Toronto. Defense is, of course, easy to criticize when they let goals like Toronto has, and the goaltender as well. But now the defense brought in TJ Brody from Calgary, well-rounded defenseman, very good defensively, good offensively. Jake Muzzin has been already there, very versatile defender. Morgan Riley scored 20 goals 2 seasons ago. So his offensive production is amazing. So they have also the pieces there in place. And then they have the secret weapon, as we call him, the Finnish guy Mikko Lehtonen, who already completed European hockey and now is in NHL after playing a fantastic season in KHL in Russian league. So he might be taking a little bit of a role there offensively, at least. Maybe not enough to a regular role in the defense, but something to look out for is his puck-moving talents and offensive production. But like I said, the team is really good. Can't really find a lot of better ones in NHL. But their team spirit, the way they gel together, and the balance is a little bit something that Sheldon Keefe will have to tackle. And if he can't, he will probably be replaced really fast because the expectations, as we know, in Toronto are always sky high. But how do we do with how have we done with season predictions in Toronto?
Like you mentioned, last season was a bit disappointment, also for the team and also for us when we did our season future prediction. We predicted Toronto to win Eastern Conference and go over 101.5 points. They were quite far off it because they got only 81 points out of 70 games. So only by winning all the games that were cancelled, they would reach the over 101.5 points. But I think that was not the case, or were not the case in the case if this was a complete season. 2 years ago, we predicted them to go over 106.5 points, and they got 100 points. So that was also a bit underperformance based on our numbers. Then 3 years ago, our prediction was that they would go over 95.5 points, and the result was 105 points, so that was correct. One of the best seasons in recent history for them, but I think again it would be interesting to see how our numbers are aligned with bookmakers. So when we have another bookmaker points total, how those are looking for Toronto.
Yeah, we're actually really close to the bookmakers once again with this team. Toronto Maple Leafs has 73.5 as a total line now, and we are predicting them to have a little bit more than 72 points. So it's not even numbers in our simulations, but 72 points for Toronto. So a little bit under, but only by 1.5 points. So I think the value is not there for betting wise. It's very close. So within one win. In the other odds, their odds to win the division, they were or are actually the favorites to win the North, the Canadian division, and their odds are only 150. So a lot of trust there by the odds makers, maybe a little bit more than we have because we have Toronto only second in their division. Let's keep the number one team still a secret, even if someone might be able to guess what team it might be. Their Stanley Cup winning odds are 1,500, which makes them the fifth favored in the whole league, which is again quite a show of trust to Toronto. Clearly the favorites in the Canadian division to win Stanley Cup, so plus 1,500. Does it sound good to you?
Not too high, I must say that. There's quite a few other teams that maybe have a bit more stability in, for example, goaltending. And we all know that if you want to make a long push in playoffs and especially win the Stanley Cup, you need to have a stable guy between the pipes there. And I think Toronto has struggled there a bit. How much do you trust on Danish Viking Fredrik Andersen?
I don't think the issue has been exactly goaltending. I think it's been the overall performance defensively. The team hasn't really helped Freddie to perform his best. But like you said, there is a couple of question marks, and we have to remember that in order to win the Stanley Cup, you don't only win your own division teams. Like if Toronto is able to be the best Canadian team, it's not enough. They still have at least 2 hurdles from the other divisions, which probably will prove too big a task for them. So I will stay out of this Stanley Cup bet as well.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is that we'll check their first home games after the road trips and find some value to bet those.
Yeah, let's do that. Keep that in mind.